So this week is Supabase's launch week, which means that they're releasing a bunch of new stuff. They've also got a hackathon going on the side, and I thought it would be a good opportunity to do a quick kind of setup tutorial, as well as looking at how I would build this NextJS application using Supabase. So let's have a look at what we plan to do. My plan for this hackathon is to create a voting platform. You can post a question on it, you can get a list of questions that have been asked by other people, and you can vote either for or against them, or other alternatives. And you can also see arguments for and against each case. Anyways, let's get into actually building this. So to begin with, let's have a look. Literally less than a couple of hours ago, Supabase has released Supabase Bootstrap, which is a CLI tool that allows you to create Supabase applications that have Next.js built in. So let's start off with that. The goal with this video is to have as few edits as possible, so if I make mistakes, I will just do my research live. I'll speed it up so that you aren't sat there waiting, but we'll see what happens. Cool. So let's start off with doing npx Supabase Bootstrap. There we go. Okay, now I can see everything. Cool. So we want to use a Next.js application. Let's have a look at what it sets up. Now that we're signed into the right account, let's do the same thing and see what happens. We want a Next.js application. We want to overwrite, yep. Perfect. We want this in London, nice and close to us. And we'll just get an auto-generated password. So apparently this can take a bit of time, so I'm just gonna skip ahead to once it's done. Alrighty, now that that's finally done, let's just do an npm install, and then what would be a good idea is to open this up in VS Code rather than being in a random file. So if we just do that, close this, open this again. Alrighty, cool. Delete this. And let's open up the terminal. Let's have a look at what it's actually set up for us. So we've got an app section, a protected page, which looks like it will have user information. It has more likely than not also set up the middleware files, the server files, and the client files, which is fantastic. Middleware.ts, and that seems perfect. And we've also got a login page. And we've got a server action here, which really in theory should be in a server file. In fact, let's do that. Let's take this, whoops, click actions, wait, what? In here, actions, and then we want to call this auth.ts, and let's just copy the sign up and sign in actions into auth.ts, and then we just duplicate all of this into this. Cool, let's stop complaining. And this is going to start complaining. Click sign up, sign in. Why is it recommending clerk? Oh, let's just import it manually. At actions, and then auth. And we want sign up and oh, I forgot to export it, that's why. Export and export. You know, we just format this. Nice. Sign in. Awesome. So that stopped complaining. And if we just run this, we can have a look at what it's actually doing. Nice. Very cool. Okay, if I hit login, let's see what happens. Okay, nice. We've got a nice and clean page set up. Type in a nice password. Type in a password that I don't use at other places. Sign in. Shouldn't work because we've not created a user yet. We hit sign up. Fantastic. I'll go ahead and verify that. So skip to when I've come back. So if we go ahead into the Supabase dashboard, we can see that it's created a Supabase hackathon project. And if we click into that, click on authentication, you can see that it's already used my email and it's created a user ID and all of that, which is fantastic. Now, what we want to do is set up Prisma to work with Supabase. So if we go into Prisma's documentation, we can have a look at how to do this. Get started, quick start, cool. So I believe we can ignore the stuff above this and we'll install this, and we also want this to be set up for Postgres. Hopefully you can read that. Awesome. So what that should have done is set up a schema.prisma file with database URL, which is fantastic. And if we go into ORM and click databases and then Supabase, we can see that we need a database URL and a direct URL. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that across into the .env file. So I'll be back once that's done. So I'm back now, and I've basically copied across the Postgres URL and Postgres direct URL. And the direct URL is used mainly for migration, so it's not something that will be used while connecting to applications. And the Postgres URL uses a connection pooler so that there's not too many connections being made to the database. Now we can actually go ahead and start modeling the application. But before we do that, let's have a discussion about what the application is that we're trying to build. We're trying to build a voting platform, and that way people can set up questions, controversial topics, whatever. Then people can vote either for or against and give reasons as comments underneath, and people can like the comments, etc., etc. So if we start off with the basics by setting up the users table for Supabase, the way that Supabase works is if we go into Supabase and then database, it has a private schema called auth, and that is completely protected. You can't edit any of that. And it's even got a users table. The issue is, what if we want to add, say for example, display name or like address or age or birthday, all of this information? We would actually have to create our own users table. So rather than calling it users as well, I'm going to call mine profiles. And we absolutely do not store password in there. Although it's funny that ChatGPT suggests putting a password in there. That just shows how insecure most applications are being built with it. So we'll do that. And an email has to be unique, and name's fine. So the created at and updated at uses the default database time, which works in this scenario. And right, so we'll just stick with this and get this working, and then we can look at messing around with other stuff. Cool. So let's do our first migration. So .env-e.end npx prisma migrate dev, and that should hopefully get the schema.prisma changes and then apply the migration. Okay, so there seems to be an issue with the credentials I've given for the database. Let me have a fix and I'll get back to you. Cool. So the issue there was I had forgotten to type in the password for the direct URL. So if you just make sure that that's all correct and you put your password in, then you'll be fine. You hopefully won't run into the same issue that I've run into. So initial profiles setup. Awesome. And now if we go into Supabase and click on tables and click on public, we should be able to see the profiles table, which is fantastic. Now, how do we actually go about duplicating all of the data from users into profiles? Well, there's thankfully a very good article on that. And if we just go to the code that we need, we want to do this. In fact, what do we have? We have a name, so we want to do this. And well, let's jump into the SQL editor and paste that. Run, perfect. And we want to create a trigger here. New query. And here, run. And fantastic. Cool. So if I go ahead and delete this user here, and turn on my dev server again, reload, hit login, and then I try and sign up again with the same email. If I hit sign up, error 500 database error saving new user. Current transaction is aborted. Relation public.profiles does not exist. Our profile, okay, right, okay. Okay, so that's my fault entirely. That should be profiles. That's what we love to see. Now that we've got Supabase working with authentication and Prisma, we can get on to the actually fun stuff about this. Okay, cool. So we'll start off with modeling the database. So I'm going to create a model, and I want this to be a model for a question. Yeah, every question will have an ID. Oh, not that much. And it will have an actual question, which is a string. It will have an array of answers, which I think should be modeled in their own database, but sorry, in their own table. But let's just focus on this for the moment. Created that and updated that. Thank you. And what else would a question have? A question can have views. So if the user's not signed in, then they can still view the question and it increments the views, but it doesn't. That would be quite expensive, isn't it? Oh well, we'll leave it in there and we'll see if we can get to it. And let's add a model for answers. So, sorry, questions, answers. Answers will have an ID, an answer, question, ID, and that is perfect. Cool. So a question can have an array of answers. I think for the max, we'll just say max if 2, which we need to handle programmatically. Max if 2, so basically it can be 2. You can't have less than 2 because otherwise that would just be the same answer and where's the voting. And let's have a look at votes. So a vote has to have an ID, and has to be voted by a user ID. String, so user profiles. Yep, that's perfect. Found that. And this votes table should have a connection to an answer. So answer, sorry. You're basically voting for an answer. So answer ID, string, answers, perfect. What else? Comments. Okay, it's model comments. So it has an ID comment string connected to an answer ID, or should it be connected to the question? I think it should be connected to the answer ID and the question. But let's remove the votes there. Answer ID. I've looked at the word answers for so long that it spelling looks wrong now. And we want this to be connected to a question ID. Okay, cool. Yeah, perfect. So you've got a question which has many answers and many votes. In fact, we'll put connection to the question ID here as well. That way we can look up votes via questions. Cool. And that seems like it's good enough for the moment. I need to create that here. Update that. Perfect. One thing I will see if I can be bothered to add later is a like button to the comments. That way we can order them based on likes. Cool. Now, is this good enough? This is indeed good enough. Okay. Let's add in fact, Supabase has added a new feature today itself, which is the ability to use AI to figure out what indexes are suboptimal and what indexes are optimal. I think I'm going to leave indexes out of the Prisma schema and then see what Supabase says we need to do. But cool, let's do another migration and then we can actually get into the coding part of it. Initial structure setup. Awesome, and that's all migrated to. Fantastic. Right, let's sign in. Oh, this is disconnected. npm div. Reload. Sign in. Oh. So if I type in everything first. Fantastic. Cool. That is what we love to see. This is working perfectly. Now let's have a look at how they've actually protected that page. I believe it's this. Yeah. So this page is server-side rendered, hence it's async, and you can do all of the funky stuff that you see in server-side components. But we don't want this. We want to have a system where the user, if they're not signed in, they can still see the questions, but they can't actually vote. They can see the votes, but they can't vote themselves. So let's have a look at how we change this. In fact, I'm just going to delete this because this is pretty useless, and we'll remove the landing page because why not? Is Supabase connected? What's connect Supabase? Oh, okay, cool. I'm just gonna delete the tutorial, because why? And I will score the button was, yeah, cool. We don't want a deploy button, so we'll remove that. And powered by Supabase. You know what, I'll leave that in. Protected no longer exists, so if we go home, hey me, hello world. Okay, right, perfect. Let's just remove this, that, cool. We'll remove, where is this coming from? The fastest way to, it's on the, oh, it's in the header, okay. Close this. Cool. Whoops. Yep. Awesome. Out or remove these two. Perfect. You know what? I don't know why there's a header there and this navbar. Let's just remove the header. We don't need the header for the moment, at least. Where is header? Followed by and perfect. Yeah, perfect. Okay, let's remove some of the duplication as well. Don't need this. We'll leave the footer in there, so it says powered by Supabase, and let's just have a big chunky H1 that says welcome to Supabase. We want welcome to Voterbase. Why not? Cool. Can init with Supabase client, break client. There's some funky code. Let's eat that. That. We don't need that. So we just want this to be right aligned. What? Justify center, item center. Justify center. Oh, a second, that's not center. Oh, justify between. Okay, right. This should be justify and. Cool. Well, that works. So just in this video, we've set up Supabase, we've set up authentication, we've set up a very basic model so that we can just start coding and get stuff working in the next video. I'll hopefully be doing one of these every single day, and we'll see where it goes. Well, I hope you guys liked the video today. If this video was helpful by any means, feel free to drop me a like, subscribe. It helps the algorithm know that I'm putting out half decent content, so it would be massively appreciated.